Michael Llewellyn still remembers what it felt like when state lawmakers passed a new lithium tax, a law that requires lithium companies to share their profits with local communities.
It felt like a breath of fresh air. It felt like we were finally being listened to.
Llewellyn is a city council member in Calipatria, a town on the north end of the Imperial Valley. It's a beautiful area with views of the mountains, the wide open farmland, and the glimmering Salton Sea. But many communities there are also some of the poorest in Imperial County. And a lot of people feel like their smaller and more rural towns have been neglected for a long time.
I grew up in a town that over time progressively got more brown and dead and crunchy, where our parks dried up, where our resources seemingly were tight within our school system, within our city.
But in recent years, there's also been new excitement about lithium. The Department of Energy has found vast reserves of the valuable mineral dissolved in underground pockets of water deep below the north end, enough to produce millions of electric car batteries. That means this new state tax on lithium is a really big deal. It was passed in 2022 and will charge companies for every ton of lithium they pull out of the ground. Almost all of that money will go directly to the county where it was extracted. To many in Imperial County, that tax was a promise that if the lithium industry did take off, smaller communities like Calipatria would benefit too.
I got to see something that you don't really see in Imperial County, which is unity across very diverse groups in wanting this tax.
Daniela Flores is the founder of the Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition, one of the environmental justice groups doing community outreach at the time.
To see all those dreams and hopes of people listed in that survey, really to us gave us confidence that it's something people wanted.
But now, 2 years later, some of the hopes around that tax have been replaced with worry. That's because this summer, the Imperial County Board of Supervisors announced a controversial plan to divide up those tax dollars. Under that plan, the county government would get to keep more than half of the money. The plan also uses population size to decide which cities would get the most funding, instead of focusing on the communities that would be right next to the extraction.
Once again, just felt like Calipat, Westmoreland, Bombay Beach, an island were all just thrown to the sidelines.
In mid-September, the Board of Supervisors gathered to vote on the plan. Dozens of speakers asked them to consider pushing back the decision.
I don't see how this budget or this proposed plan provides any economic prosperity opportunities for the areas of Nyland, Bombay, Westmoreland, and Calipatra.
This is where you guys should focus on. It shouldn't be on population because of the fact that we are such a small community. We're such a small community because we don't have the funding.
The supervisors defended their plan, arguing that the county share of the funds would eventually make their way back to North End communities, and that they needed to move quickly to get more support from the Biden administration, or risk falling behind.
The reason we have to do this is we have to close this conversation right now and focus on development because the opportunity is slipping away.
Imperial County Supervisor Ryan Kelly.
I promise to continue to have the conversation, but we have to be able to protect this.
The 5 supervisors voted unanimously to approve the spending plan. One thing everybody agrees on is that Imperial County still has years to go before anybody actually starts pulling lithium out of the ground. Most companies are still developing the new systems they need to filter it out of the hot brine that it's dissolved in. Llewellyn, the city council member in Calipatria, plans to hold the supervisors to their promise, to continue the conversation about the spending plan. He's frustrated that those 5 people have so much power to decide what happens with those tax funds.
Decisions that were made around lithium used to be with legislatures alongside local leaders and community members. Now it's between a few board of supervisors and lithium executives having meetings together.
Still, Llewellyn and others are hopeful they'll be able to push for changes to the spending plan. Until lithium extraction actually starts in Imperial County, Llewellyn says they still have time. In Calipatria, Kori Suzuki, KPBS News.